Hello, everybody. Welcome inside OH Report World Headquarters in Mansfield, Ohio. I am Travis Big League Berardi. That is Hayden Tallboy Gray, and we are back with another edition of our Stat Leaders, now sponsored by Spitzer of Mansfield. Thank you to the fine folks at Spitzer for sponsoring this little show we have here every week during the football season and basketball season, and even in the playoffs as well, which we'll get to in about 7 weeks. I can't believe already 3 weeks of the football season's gone by, Hayden.
It's absolutely wild. Fastest weeks of our lives, and they just get faster every year.
All right, let's get right into things. First with our passing leaders at number 10, Nathan Bernard of Ashland. Ashland, starting to come back around. 513 yards passing, 31 of 42, so a good percentage for 4 touchdowns. He starts things off at number 10. At number 9, Matt Sprang of Loudonville. Big win over Hillsdale last week, 14-0. He has 576 yards passing, 38 of 67 for 5 touchdowns, and after that loss to Crestview, I always talk about good losses. It's a tough one, but Crestview's really good. That's their lone loss. So Loudonville, especially in the KMAC this year, they might have something going with Matt Sprang and company. At number 8, Malachi Bayless, Bucyrus. 589 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 49 and 92. He chucks the ball around, but he does get some results, Hayden.
Yeah, he does. Their style, their offense is still a little bit in search of a full identity, but he is one guy who can get the job done if he has to and knows how to air it out, and he finds his way onto our top 10.
All right, now to number 7, a guy that you're going to want to pinpoint a little bit more. Cameron Kuhn of Madison, 620 yards passing, 60 of 84 for 6 touchdowns. Hayden, let's look into him a little bit more.
Yeah, Cameron Kuhn, they obviously, under first-year head coach at Madison, obviously not a veteran coach himself, but Coach Valentine has the Rams airing it out this year. 111 attempts for Kuhn, the second highest, the second most on our list. Now, he's completed 46 of those for 620 yards and 6 touchdowns, and they haven't been able to put together a win yet. But the more and more that Kuhn and this offense gets more time to practice and gets more reps in, I think they're going to put one of these together with him behind the helm and find a way to get a victory.
Yeah, Madison, they're getting close. That 10-7 loss to Shelby in week 1. They lost 28-14 to Ontario as well. But, I have a feeling Madison's going to get a couple wins. And if Cameron Kuhn can continue to be confident back there and hit some playmakers, they'll get some wins. This Madison team is turning it around. At number 6 now, Brandon Mitchell, a normal name to this list. He seems like he's always there. Number 6, 670 yards passing in 3 games, 40 of 65, 5 touchdowns. That is an average of over 200 yards a game. See, I can do math, Hayden. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is impressive.
And something worth noting, you have to go over 500 yards passing through 3 games just to make it onto the top 10, which tells you, you've seen it in the NFL as well, where passing's really taking things over, unless your name is Lucas Cubs. But we'll see if any of those Cubs break lists, because they're so balanced as well that you might not see them on the list because so many people have maybe 100 or 200 yards rushing, receiving, and whatnot. Definitely. But I digress, and let's go back into the passing rankings. At number 5 now, Braden DeVito, the sensational freshman from the Shelby Whippets. 5 touchdown passes, 678 yards, 40 of 65 passing too. So the young one, he's pretty accurate.
Yeah, he's having a very good year, and I think once he gets calm too, finally a few varsity starts under his belt, and he's had to play some tough teams. You go on the road and they wallop Lexington, but then having to play Bellevue at home in the new stadium. So he's gaining a lot of valuable experience right now. It's just going to allow him to build that relationship with the wide receivers and other guys that he has around him.
Moving on in the top 5 now to number 4, Mason Wolf of West Holmes. They just keep producing those quarterbacks down there after, the former one took them to a state Final Four last year. Mason Wolf comes in, just throws 9 touchdowns in 3 games, 678 yards in 3 games, 41 of 57 passing. They got a big one coming up this Friday night, hosting Mansfield Senior. It could be for the OCC Championship, even though it's week 1 of the conference schedule. Hey, should be a good one down there.
I think it should be, and that'll be a game that we have coverage of for you. And like you said, it's going to be one that kind of puts the conference front runner in the driver's seat, and unless you have a flat tire, there's probably not going to be any looking back, so that'll be one to be on your radar for sure.
Now to number 3, Hayden Holman, Upper Sandusky, a tough loss to Gallion. All of the emotion that went into that probably helped out a little bit. Gallion was just playing on a different level that night, but Upper Sandusky, they're showing some promise this season with Holman, 765 yards passing on 5 touchdowns, 54 of 87 passing. Number 2, Caden Shadone, River Valley, another one of those familiar faces in the lineup. 9 touchdowns passing already, 867 yards, 67 of 114 passing, but still not good enough to be number 1 because Isaac Robinson of Willard is just throwing up Madden numbers through 3 weeks. 12 touchdowns, 1,134 yards on 62 of 93 passing. What is going on at Willard, Hayden?
I don't know. The Flashes have obviously put a lot of faith in this kid, and I think my favorite or the most shell-shocking part of this is that's on 93 attempts. So
yeah,
his average is through the roof, and whatever they're doing, it's working.
It's 13 more passes than Malachi Bayless, and he only has 589 yards. This is a high-octane offense, and you know what? Willard, they kind of have to put up the numbers, the big numbers offensively if they want to be in it. They're 2-1 right now. Maybe they'll break my Country Roads rankings as well. We'll have to see coming up here. Moving on now, we're done with the pass throwers, but now it's time for those pass catchers from around the area. A lot of names changed through this as well from last week to this week, starting with Kean Shadone sitting at number 10. 3 touchdowns, 15 catches, 248 yards for River Valley. At number 9, Carson Steinmetz, East Knox. I know a couple tough losses here recently. 2 touchdowns, 19 catches, 249 yards for the Bulldogs. But we know down there in Howard, they work. They'll bounce back. They have a chance this week to do so. At number 8, Ethan Hill, Upper Sandusky. 2 touchdowns, 12 catches, 275 yards. And once again, you have to be around 250 yards just to break this list through three games. You're going to have some teams with that 1 or 2 big playmakers, but there's a lot of squads around here with a couple, 2 or 3 good wide receivers that can take some of those yards away from you, but still really good teams passing, like we just said, with the passers. At number 7, Billy Klaus at Calvert. 3 touchdowns, 17 catches, 280 yards for Tiffin. At number 6, Kyle Maltrich, the transfer from Loudonville a couple years ago. 16 catches, 282 yards, and 7 touchdowns for West Holmes, who, like I said, they graduated quite a few from that Final 14, but they haven't skipped a beat.
No, and he's one of those guys that's helped as he came into the program keep that level of success and that success rate high for West Holmes. And as you mentioned, you have to be one of those guys to be on the list through these 3 weeks here. You have to be one of those that the quarterback's looking for, one of those playmakers that goes and gets almost every ball he's throwing your way.
All right, now to the top 5. At number 5, Isaiah Ramsey, the Shelby Whippet, filling in for those big names that graduated once again. A couple of these players just stepping up into those roles. Only 2 touchdown catches, but he has 16 catches for 329 yards for those Whippets. It was a tough letback against, rival Bellevue to open up the new turf, but Shelby still at 2-1. Get a couple more wins, they'll be sitting pretty in that playoff rankings.
I think that they have been able to figure out some things through those first early games. Obviously, such a close week 1, almost lose, and then as you mentioned, you lose to a rival like Bellevue. But I think that the experience is building for them, and they'll be able to take that into conference play in the MOAC and hopefully be able to compete with those teams like Clear Fork or even Ontario this year.
Now to the top 4. At number 4, another player that you want to spotlight, Hayden, Jonathan Metzger of Ashland. Another one of those names that has been in the top 10 from last season. Only 3 touchdowns, but 18 catches for 335 yards. Let's take a closer look at him, Hayden.
Metzger doing a nice job this season. He's someone that is a familiar face here on the OH Report in multiple sports. I've watched this kid wrestle before, and it seems like he brings his aggressiveness over to the football field as well as speed. He's really quick on that outside, really does a nice job of getting around that corner, getting that first step off the line of scrimmage to get open, and just a phenomenal season for him so far. Getting close to that 350-yard mark, just approaching week 4. So a nice job for him. The touchdowns are going to come, and I think that's one of those where the yards are more important to him right now because that's helping that team's success.
Yeah, and these players, top 5, averaging 100 yards a game so far. It's pretty darn good at the high school level, especially when you're playing top teams. Ashland playing, in that Division II, Division III area, even with Shelby playing Division III, 4, and 5 teams. So averaging 100 yards a game, it's pretty darn good. But let's get back into the top 3 now. At number 3, Isaac Blair from South Central, filling in for a couple wide receivers that graduate. I keep saying that, but it's just funny how these players step in for Brandon Mitchell, who comes back. He needed a big play receiver this year. Isaac Blair has stepped up, 6 touchdowns, 28 catches, and 377 yards. Now to number 2. Cam Robinson. You had to figure there was somebody from Willard that's going to be up in the top 3 because of what their quarterback has done. 5 touchdowns, 21 catches, 378 yards. There's so many yards out at Willard, it's making me lose my voice.
You think
here.
It's a typo, right?
But yeah, great season that Cam Robinson, a very pass-happy offense that's getting things done for the 2-1 Crimson Flashes. At number 1, Kean Shadone again. 4 touchdowns, 26 catches, 381 yards. We had a bit of a typo down at the bottom, but hey, this is the first time we're doing this stuff. Just bear with us. And the cool thing, Hayden can get this updated. So the actual number 10 is here right now. So there is your number 10. I apologize. We'll get that fixed for next week. But there are your top 10 for our receiving players. Now to the final set of rankings for today, the rushers, the bell cows here in North Central Ohio. And we're going to start off with Manny Mullins from Buckeye Central. 52 carries, 382 yards, 4 touchdowns as the Bucks 3-0. Look at them. A couple more wins. They're going to be qualified for a playoff spot for the first time, not counting the COVID year in quite some time. So Manny Mullins helping things out on the ground. At number 9, Max Lauer. As always, the Northmore Golden Knight out there showing his weight around. 7 touchdowns, 76 carries, 395 yards. And he also had a couple touchdown catches. He had the big touchdown catches against South Central to knock them off 28-20. So he does it all, and they need him to do a lot this season, and as they graduated a lot, and he has been able to answer the call. At number 8, Addison Raymer from the Crestview Cougars, and Hayden, 9 touchdowns, 410 yards rushing, 58 carries. And let me say that again, 410 yards rushing through 3 games only gets you at number 8. But Hayden, we got a new segment now for you that we're going to introduce right now, actually. For the next few weeks throughout the season, we are going to spotlight one player and have an interview with them, learn a little bit more about how they play the game. And thanks to our friends the last 3 weeks, he's been the MVP. So we have some good video of that. And, well, let's just roll that beautiful bean footage.
It feels good. Of course, you got to give credit to our offensive line. We faced some adversity tonight with Mason going down. But we came out in the second half and didn't stop what we were doing in the first. It's been a lot to prove, really, with all the questions. And, I mean, you got Connor Morris, crazy legend back at Crestview to look up to while he's here, and it's great to learn from him for the previous year. It's amazing. I got 100% confidence in our offensive line, as well as Wade Bolin. He's a tank. He doesn't miss a tackle or a block almost every time. So as running behind them, it's just great.
So Addison Raymer, another dynamic running back coming out of Crestview for a squad that this could be the year for them. We've been saying it all season long, but yeah, he's been doing what he is needed to do in a very balanced offense up there at Crestview.
I agree, and I think the cool thing is there was a lot of question marks with someone like a Connor Morse leaving Crestview, graduating last year. What were they going to do to change this? I think that Addison Raymer is such a great successor because they're so different. Their play styles are a bit different. Connor was more of a put the head down, run through those gaps, and hard-nosed football. But Addison brings that speed and agility and dynamics all across the field. So I think they've definitely missed Connor Morse, but they're enjoying Addison Raymer taking over that spot.
All right, now to our number 7 rusher, Matt Bland from Mount Gilead. 411 yards, so just one ahead of Addison on 50 carries, 5 touchdowns for Mount Gilead, who wants to get a couple more wins and get back into that playoff conversation. Now to number 6, Blake Foose is Seneca East. Seneca East just dropped their first game of the year, a tough one, but they still sit at 2-1. 66 carries, 416 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now to the top 5. Quincy Crabs, you always got to see somebody from St. Paul in there. St. Paul gets their first win of the season this past week. 72 carries, 428 yards, and a touchdown. And they're going to get rolling, and then it'll set up that big Firelands Conference, possibly championship game in week number 9 against Crestview at home. Now to number 4. Tyler Johnson from Centerburg. Wait, a quarterback at number 4? Yeah. He is doing it all, and Hayden, let's spotlight him a little bit more. 72 carries, 484 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
The fact that he is putting up these numbers right now in the rushing category as a quarterback just shows you how much of an athlete Tyler Johnson is and how important he is to this Trojan offense. We knew he was an athlete last year, and then this year he takes over in kind of one of those situations where your most athletic guys got to go play quarterback. So this is honestly not much of a surprise to me. I'm glad to see the success he's having down there and just really having a phenomenal season, trying to, maybe get Centerburg to a KMAC championship.
Yeah, I mean, they've shown that they can compete for one. Tyler Johnson, I said this to Andy Jardy during the Worthington Christian game on Friday, kind of reminds me of a Tim Tebow. He's got that bigger build, looks like a fullback a little bit, can run guys over, but then, it looks like he's going to run a sweep, and all of a sudden he stops and throws it.
Yeah.
I just want to see a jump pass from you, Tyler. That would complete everything and really complete that comparison to one of the greatest Florida quarterbacks to ever play. Yeah, you just heard me say that, but hey, he's a heck of a player. So is Tyler Johnson. At number 3, Garrett George of Mount Gilead. 7 touchdowns, 53 carries, 534 yards. So that's averaging 10 yards a carry right there. See, I'm good at math sometimes. But that's great for the Mount Gilead Indian.
Yeah, it's the numbers are just wild. I think I get almost just taken away and taken back by the fact that these guys have already eclipsed that 1,000-yard mark this early into the season, and Travis, the top 2 guys, approaching 600.
Yeah, and at number 2, a name that we have known for the last year and a half, and that is Dane Nauman.
But back at number 2?
Back at Crestview kind of contained him.
That's
73 carries, 540 yards, 4 touchdowns. A lot of names from the KMAC in here, or former KMAC as well, because number 1, Tegan Rule back in the spot he needs to be at running back. 60 carries, 583 yards, 7 touchdowns. Hey, I said Fredericktown, they're my favorite to win the KMAC, and he is one of the main reasons why. Tegan Rule, along with Cade Carpenter, a wide receiver, and they got their quarterback back as well. Fredericktown lost 17-14 to Dane Nauman. Nauman ran for 300 yards against them, but only allowed him to get in the end zone once. But after that, Fredericktown has bounced back, and they're back in position along with Northmore, along with Centerburg right there, even Danville as well. So a lot of KMAC. KMAC Trav is proud that all these KMAC players are on there, but I'm also proud to see everybody else show out this season so far. Man, do we see like a 1,500-yard rusher this year, Hayden?
I think we will.
Already at 583 for Rule. Do we see a 2,000-yard passer?
Possibly. I think we may see a 2,000-yard rusher
Can
too.
Isaac
Who knows?
Robinson keep it up for
I think he will.
4 or 5 more games to get over 2,000 yards? Caden Shadone even as well. Can he get past there? But we'll just have to see. This was fun.
This is fun.
This was fun. The Stat Leaders, for the first time, sponsored by Spitzer of Mansfield. We thank you once again. And if you want a good car, truck, SUV, head on over to Spitzer. They'll give you a good deal. But I'll let you close things out, Hayden. Anything you want to close out with?
Other than what we've already talked about, probably just reminding the folks that tomorrow night after you watch all of our live streams that we've got coming your way.
There you go.
Tune into the Friday Night Pigskin, 11:30. You don't want to miss it.
No, you don't. Scores, highlights from all around the area. Eric Will. That should be just the main thing right there. But we'll have, once again, Week 4 wrap up and see if these players showed out once again. But you know what? I'm getting out of here for now. We will see you on a live stream near you coming up this weekend. Peace.